my name is Nicole, and this is Murphy's Cut Flowers. I am a cut flower farm in South Georgia. We are zone 9A, so we are all the way at the base of Georgia. I'm only 20 minutes from the Georgia-Florida line. I began growing flowers officially in 2025. I don't remember the exact date that my season started. I know I had a late start. I planted some flowers around the house because I wanted to get back into gardening in general. But I wasn't doing anything serious at that point. And then my friend and I decided to join forces. She bakes and I grow flowers, and we formed a business called Petals and Pastries. I'm not on YouTube as that, just because our channel is just going to focus on the flowers and day-to-day things with the kids. While I have a background in plants, I worked at a nursery when I was younger. It was almost 20 years ago, because I'm almost 40 now, so it was when I was much younger. But I did work at a greenhouse. I worked at a nursery. I sold plants. I kept them alive, fertilized them, took care of them. I was learning to propagate crepe myrtles. I even worked at Monrovia, because that is in my hometown. Their home base. I think it's their home base. It's the plant home base. It may not be corporate, but it's where the plants live. So, fun fact, I actually have Monrovia and Flowerwood. Some of you may know of that one. They're both my neighbors. So I have both of those. They're 20 minutes down the road. It's kind of cool. Anyway, I worked at Monrovia, and again, it has just been 20 years since I was in that world. I left it, and when I got a different job, I didn't continue gardening. I was young. I rented. All of those things. Simultaneously, I have looked for a side hustle to do while I'm at home with the kids for probably 2 or 3 years. I mean, I've tried several different things. I did some multi-level marketing stuff and sold some books. I considered doing the thrifting and reselling what I thrift, but that sounded like not a lot of fun with small children. And that's a lot of going too, unnecessary going. While I have a background in plants and nursery, and this wasn't completely uncharted territory for me, I did not have a background in cut flowers. Those are two different things when you're talking about growing a flower specifically for cut production, specifically for bouquets. And when I worked in the business, I worked with trees and shrubs and of course flowers, but really nothing like what I'm dealing with now. Excuse me, nothing at all. I dealt with very few annuals, if any. I don't actually specifically, maybe a few hanging baskets I dealt with, but I don't remember a ton of annuals at all that I so it was like starting new, starting fresh. And I hopped on YouTube, I hopped on Facebook, I have bought books and magazines and been reading and mainly YouTube. That's really the main place. Knowing that I was completely new to the cut flower industry, the cut flower world, everything about it, I started small last year. And that was intentional and it was unintentional, because I genuinely thought I was going to have bigger numbers than I had. When I started researching everything, I kept hearing the words cut and come again, cut and come again, cut and come again. So for some reason in my head, I thought that I was going to plant 10 zinnias and I was going to get 100 blooms easily, like a sellable. 100 sellable blooms off of 10 plants. And while that may be possible for some, that is not what happened. That was also in the thick of August, which is, it's our hottest and most humid month every year. And zinnias, they did not like it. So while I did have a great season and I did not put a single sellable stem on the compost. I don't actually have a compost pile yet. Figure of speech. That's one of the goals for this year. So I had a good season. It just wasn't what I expected. And again, that's for two reasons. My expectations were too high. I needed to learn. I needed to get my feet wet. I needed to make mistakes. And two, I kind of got suckered by some of the very pretty Instagram and Facebook pages that sell you on, like, they don't talk numbers. And so until you dive in and you're doing your own research, you get the impression that, you're going to toss the wildflower mix into the yard and you're going to make beautiful hand-tied bouquets all season long. And that's not reality. Like, one of the hardest things I think to find has been numbers for me. Like, and I'm working on this myself this year. I have a notebook where I have started from seed until I rip that plant out of the ground. I am calculating everything, how it germinates, how it grows, what I think has affected it positively and negatively. I'm counting the stems. I'm going to be very strategic this year, because going into this, that was one of the hardest things to find is, okay, these are cut and come again, but what does that mean? I thought it meant these things were just going to be shooting up blooms like firecrackers, like it was going to be, that was my genuine impression. And again, I have a plant background. That was not the case. And also, how long in between, what would I call that? My kids are singing and it sounds like crying, so I had to double take that. But also, how long does it take from once I cut it, if it's cut and come again, how long do I have to wait before it comes back? Because there were some flowers that it was 3 weeks in between that second stem or that second flush being ready, and I did not expect that. I didn't anticipate it. I would call last season a raging success, despite the fact that it was my very first season, despite the fact that I had no idea about bugs or pest or no dig versus till, none of that. I didn't put a single sellable stem on the compost pile. So it was a win. And I ended the year with a little bit of money in my pocket. And when I say a little bit, I mean like $40, and I spent it all on seed. So I went pew that way. But that is something that I'm going to talk a lot about in my videos. I may do just one specifically, because flower farming is, I don't know, there's kind of a double-edged sword where it's like, oh, throw the seeds out and you'll have a magical farm. Versus where if you really want to scale up and not just be like a backyard or hobby level, you could easily drop $10,000 or $15,000 or more if you're getting a greenhouse without even knowing if you're gonna be able to do it. And some people have, and it's worked out wonderfully, and probably others have, and it has not. What can you expect from my channel? I am putting into place many regenerative, it's difficult, practices this year. I am starting small, so we're moving to no dig, and we're doing a lot of no dig beds. I am aiming to remove plastic. I'm aiming to remove fabric. I'm not using any netting. I knew that from the get-go. I will corral with jute if I need to, but I am not using any plastic netting. That sounds like a nightmare just to clean up alone. And my reasons for being regenerative, you are not going to catch me saying that word a whole lot, are twofold. One, because it's more work to me to have to deal with the plastic, the black mat, the netting, the plastic trays, and everything else. It is twice as much work to me. It feels like more work. I don't want to have to deal with it if I don't have to. And I think there's a way for me to not have to. So I think I can have beds with minimal weeds without having mat on them. I can corral plants instead of using the Hova netting. The other thing you will expect to see on my channel is my kids. I am a homeschooling. Like I said, this is my side hustle. It is not hobby level. I have a tax ID. I'm scaling to business level. I would already call myself business level because I am running a business 100%, but I'm scaling it up slowly. So last year, the numbers were like 10 plants each. This year, the numbers are 40 to 75 plants each. And then we'll bump it up next year, hopefully, if I have the demand. This year, you will also get to see a lot of side projects, a lot of side garden projects. I have an awful, ugly shed. Say that properly. And one of my main goals for this year is to, excuse me, literally dump everything in it and start fresh. This year, I'm also aiming to not use any chemicals or fertilizers. I want to fertilize naturally and organically. I want to focus on compost and mulching and soil health. I've really dived in. There's some really good YouTube channels on here, and you guys have got me suckered into finding earthworms in my garden and the things that I can do to improve my soil health, which feels funny and super nerdy, but it is fun. It's very fun. I've really been enjoying it. And fun fact, I did not see not one single worm all last year, and I saw my first one, I think it was about 3 weeks ago. And then I saw like 4 more, and one of them was like, I kid you not, like this long. I've never seen, never. 10-year-old me would have flipped out to find a worm that long, okay? It was insane. So you're going to see a lot of that here. I'm going to talk a lot about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and whether or not it works. Some of this is still completely new to me this year. And I will not succeed 100% of the time. That is farming and that is life. So we will find out together what is working, what's not working, and we will... in the ground right now, I have stock ranunculus, sweet peas, and status. I have larkspur, snapdragons, bachelor buttons, more stock, bishop's flower, sweet william, blue perum, bells of Ireland, Canterbury bells, Rudbeckia, and I think that's all. I'll put a list on the screen here. Those have not been planted. They are going to be ready very, very soon. They're probably going to be ready. I don't know. They've slowed down a little since we have this cold front in right now. But shortly after, I would expect within the next 2 weeks, I'm going to have to get all of those into the ground and get them moved. And I can't wait. So my season this year is going to be significantly longer than it was last season. I hope to see you back here. I hope that you subscribe. I hope you stick around. I hope that you are excited to see some of the things and the changes that are coming, and stick around and follow our journey. I'm excited to talk about it. My kids are up to something. Can you say like and subscribe?
Like and subscribe
to Murphy's Cut Flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see.